And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. Before we do get into today's video, as always, please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. The Champions League is coming towards a conclusion, with the final two now set to play in Istanbul in a matter of weeks. But this is one of the last campaigns in which the competition will be played under the current format. At a meeting in Vienna just over a year ago, the UEFA Executive Committee signed off on a new format. There had been 2 years of intense debate over how it would work and followed several years of politicking between Europe's biggest sides. Now it will be implemented from the start of the 2024-2025 season, with more teams taking part and more games. The continent's biggest sides are likely to benefit from the new format as they fight to qualify for next campaign, the first in which the qualification process is based on the expanded competition. Teams from the same nations could also meet far sooner, and there is a world in which fans will be left cheering on their domestic rivals to aid their own hopes. In this video, we break down what has changed and what it all means. What will the Champions League look like from 2024-2025? The number of teams competing in the competition will increase from 32 to 36, meaning there will now be 189 matches instead of 125, and the group stage will be replaced by a league phase, otherwise known as the Swiss model. Each team will be guaranteed to play 8 matches in the league phase, down from the proposed 10 after talks in Vienna, of which they'll play half at home and half away. The top 8 sides in the league will qualify automatically for the knockout stage. Those finishing in 9th to 24th will compete in a 2-legged playoff to determine who reaches the last 16 of the competition. 2 of the extra 4 slots in the competition will be awarded to nations whose club achieved the best collective performance in the season before. To work this out, the total points earned will be divided by the number of sides competing in European club competitions. This is a notable move away from the much criticised 5-year historical coefficients. If the new rules had been applied to the current 2022-2023 season, the 2 extra places would go to clubs from England and the Netherlands. In 3 of the past 4 campaigns, a team in the Premier League would have received one of those additional slots. As it stands for the next season's qualification process, they will go to England and Italy. In theory, in some years, the Premier League could end up with a total of 7 teams in the Champions League due to the coefficient spot awarded on performance and the winners of Europe's biggest club competition and the Europa League, should those clubs not otherwise qualify automatically. In another change, clubs from the same country will now be able to play against each other in the early knockout stages. Domestic clashes are currently blocked until the quarterfinals. The 8 league-style matches will be spread over 10 weeks, a decision that was made last year, and it will mean the Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League will have an exclusive week dedicated to their tournament. How is that different to the way we have it at the moment? Each team who reaches the Champions League proper currently plays in a 4-team group stage, with the 2 top teams reaching the knockout stages. The 3rd place side then drops into the Europa League. Those who advance then play in the knockout rounds, and if a team can progress through to the last 16 stage, the quarter-final, the semi-final, and win the final, they are crowned champions of Europe. One element that will not be changing when the new system is introduced in 2024 is the 2-legged semi-finals. The Times reported last year that momentum is building for 2-legged Champions League semi-finals to be scrapped, with leading European clubs backing a plan to play the semis and final over a single week in one city. However, that is unlikely to be implemented anytime soon, with UEFA committed to keeping them in place for the foreseeable future. How does this impact qualification from the Premier League? As it stands, 4 Premier League teams can qualify for the Champions League, but such is the English top flight's dominance, they are almost certainly guaranteed 5 slots from 2024 onwards. The Premier League will be delighted that they are almost guaranteed to have 5 Champions League places instead of 4. You would also expect Spain, Germany and Italy to be relatively satisfied with the new format, as the 2nd extra spot is likely to end up going to either La Liga, the Bundesliga or Serie A. Despite there being bonus points for being in the Champions League as opposed to the Europa League or Europa Conference League, a smaller country could still earn one of those coefficient places. Who will be annoyed? There is a school of thought that UEFA were only listening to the Premier League and La Liga when it came to ditching the 10-game league phase and reducing it to 8 matches. France's Ligue 1 wanted 10 games and not club coefficients, They wrote to UEFA and the European Club Association to say that is why they reduced their domestic league to 18. They anticipated an increase in European games. They did not like the club coefficient though. They wanted one of the 2 extra places to be given to a domestic champion from a mid-sized league and the other one to the 5th biggest league, so it had 4 spots like the top 4 leagues. At the moment the 5th biggest league is Ligue 1. It essentially boils down to every league being greedy and wanting more, but the new format will offer balance and should encourage teams playing in either of UEFA's 3 club competitions to go as far as possible and earn coefficient points for their country. What does it mean for Premier League clubs? Premier League sources, speaking on the condition of anonymity to protect their positions last year, welcomed UEFA's decision to drop the historical coefficient places and reduce the number of group stage matches from 10 to 8. Richard Masters, the Premier League chief executive, is thought to have worked hard with UEFA on proposals, and this will go down as a win on his behalf. There is now a very real prospect that England's top flight will have 8 teams competing in European club competitions every season, which is good news for those outside of the established Big Six. The rhetoric concerning the race to finish in the top 4 is now likely to change to the top 5 and will come as a boost to the sides trying to break into the established elite. The changes should also satisfy disgruntled club executives who criticise the historical coefficient proposals as deeply unfair and putting a glass ceiling on what they could have achieved. Making it based on the country coefficient takes away the club argument. There is, however, an argument to suggest that the financial gap between the smaller sized teams and bigger sides will only grow bigger due to the new Champions League format. This is down to the potential of additional spot as well as an increased broadcast revenue from the competition. How will clubs benefit financially? Last week, UEFA suggested that they hoped for a rise in revenue of about 33% for their revamped club competitions. The Champions League currently brings in £3.13 billion for each of the 3 seasons between 2021 and 2024. When speaking about projected revenue last Tuesday, UEFA Competitions Director Giorgio Marchetti said, "We are working on both conservative and more optimistic projections in a range I would say between 4.6 to 4.8 billion euros. UEFA is in discussion with the ECA and the European League groups to decide how to distribute the extra prize money." What about the Europa League and Europa Conference League? What changes there? Similar formats changes will be applied to both competitions. The Europa League is doing away with the traditional group stage and replacing it with the league phase, with each team having to play 8 matches. Clubs competing in the Europa Conference League will play 6 matches in their league stage. Both competitions will start with 36 teams. So there you go, guys. There is the new format for the Champions League, which does come into effect in 2024-2025. Going by this season, we're pretty much at least guaranteed to finish 5th. So it is fairly unfortunate, but in 2 seasons' time, then we would actually qualify for the Champions League if we had finished 5th. So, yeah, slightly unfortunate. However, this season isn't yet over. I do like the idea of the new format. I'm a bit bored of the current Champions League way, but to play 8 matches and then play against 8 different sides, not twice over, I think it's quite interesting. It'll be really, really good. And I think, as I say, I always welcome change and evolution to competitions. And the Champions League has certainly needed a revamp for a while. It also gives chances for other teams. I know Liverpool historically are a Champions League team, but I also like other leagues outside of the Premier League, and I like to see, the Dutch teams and Scottish teams and all the rest of it do well. So yeah, I welcome change, and hopefully it sees different sort of sides competing in the later stages of the competition. But whatever changes, for sure, I think Liverpool, it doesn't really affect Liverpool. Liverpool should be playing that competition, especially with 5 spots going to the Premier League every season. Liverpool should be playing Champions League football every single year for the foreseeable future. Let's just hope Liverpool are also in the Champions League this year. But guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. Please do let me know your thoughts on the new Champions League format down there in the comment section below. Thank you. Take care. Peace.